Well, let's see. What else have we got here? We talked about a little bit about the landmarks. Has anybody, and let me just throw some things out because hopefully somebody out there can get in touch with you on this. The Perriman Cemetery, which is about a block and a half from Channel 2, has Tulsa's first postmaster buried there, and there are deceased members of both sides of the Civil War buried there, as well as one chief, former chief of the Creek tribe. Quite a historic piece of property. So if anybody out there has anything they can contribute on that, feel free to do so. The only thing that I've been especially interested in is the Phillips 66 heritage of the little pointed roof filling stations. There are a few left here in Tulsa. People drive by them all the time, and they're not really sure what they're seeing. You know, that's an important little landmark, particularly for this part of the country.
I think there's one downtown that's been completely restored and is back in use. But there are a few pictures of those in the Beryl Ford archives, too.
You know, I've been all over the web, hovering like an expectant daddy, trying to find. There was one time there was a Woolarock radio that was manufactured, just briefly. I saw one once, was going to try to buy it, and I was distracted, you know, which I'm easily distracted at my age. But when I went back, it was gone. So I've been on the web for the last 6 or 7 years, and I haven't seen another, but there's going to be one out there, and I'm going to grab it.
Radio.
And when I get it, I'm going to come running and knocking on your front door saying, look at this. But it was manufactured under the Woolarock brand at a time when, and, you know, it was an old tube set, at a time when manufacturers figured out they could manufacture radios in the same plant for RCA or Silvertone or whatever. But this one apparently was manufactured in Oklahoma.
I haven't heard of that. What you should do is probably go to eBay and set up a search so that anytime Woolarock comes up, it'll alert you.
I'm going to come sit on your front porch. Folks that are sitting home right now with a computer in their home and they're thinking, you know what, I wonder, and you know that's going to happen, can just dive right in the water, right? I mean, they can just start looking almost immediately.
Yeah, you can start anywhere.
Is it a simple site to use?
Some
of the sites that are out there are complex.
Over time, I've tried to make it as user-friendly as possible, but there's just too much stuff out of it to do it systematically. So I just recommend find something of interest and just go from there.
I don't want to let this slip by. The sign from the Page Dairy that has since been moved to a very nice area, is that on part of your site?
Yeah, I do have that. Yeah, the old, it's an automated vending machine. I think it was over on 15th, somewhere near the fairgrounds. But as I recall, the way it works is you come up and you put money in, and you know, I wasn't sure as a kid if there was a person in there or not, but ultimately your dairy product comes up. But it looks like a giant milk carton, so you can't miss it.
I love the fact that you can drive by the bakeries here in town, particularly the old ones.
Like Ann's Bakery and so forth.
And smell the bread, you know, as it's being cranked out. And I've talked to a number of people who say that they recall back when Bozo was on the air, for example, and their first or second grade class would be taken over to, I believe, Wonder Bread
I
for
did
a
that
tour.
too.
You remember that? I'm showing my age, aren't I? Oh, no. You've got to have things on the drawing board that you'd like to see this site develop into. And we've got about 3 minutes, and I'm sorry I've hogged the time so much, but you're such an interesting gentleman, and the site is intriguing. What are some of the things you want to bring to it down the road?
Well, as I say, I don't really have a specific plan about it. I feel like we've at least touched on most of the major topics that the site is going to cover. It never would have been feasible to just say, okay, well, this is strictly television or strictly TV and radio, because the things associated with that, even down to the commercials, you know, there are a lot of associations with it, and that's my plan, if there is such a thing, that try to relate everything that is associated with that to the site.
I know the Tulsa Historical Society has done a bang-up job archiving so many wonderful things about Tulsa, and they continue to work very hard on that. But it seems to me like I'd love to have something tangible that I could hold in my hand and read about. And I'm gonna encourage you on this. I would love to see you start to put pen to paper. Don't throw your water. Just kick it around. Think about it. Because I think even the blogs that come in or the reaction to them would be beneficial just to read what people say.
Yeah, I think that the real interest in the site is from the people who write into the blogs. I just feel like I'm serving as kind of an editor or ringmaster or something like that.
You know what the red pencil is?
I've heard of it, yes.
Well, you're sitting in the catbird seat and you have a red pencil. So I would encourage you to exercise that red pencil and get on it, boy.
Okay.
Because I'd buy the first copy. I truly would. You and I were talking earlier, and you mentioned Sonny Gray. Sonny is an old friend of mine, and I tell him all the time he's a lot older than I am, but one of the more talented individuals I've ever known, and he had a club here in town called the Rubaiyat. Mm-hmm. Is there a place on your site for the Rubaiyat Club?
Yeah, I have an entire page of it. You started it, I think, over at around 51st and Harvard, where the old Bodine seafood place was. I think it's been completely wiped out for the I-44 expansion. And then he built a second version of the club out on 66th Street. And it was interesting to me because it was a coffee house to start with. It was part of that beatnik thing coming out of the late 50s and into the early 60s. And I think his club later on became a notable jazz club.
It did.
Had a lot of big talent come through there.
Mike, we're out of time, and I really wish we had another half hour to talk. Thank you for coming in and explaining the site, and again, the name.
TulsaTVMemories.com.
Log on to it, folks. It's worth your time. That's all the time we have for this segment of Green Country Perspectives. And if you have questions, comments, or program ideas, send them to KRSC-TV, rsu.edu, or call us at 1-800-823-7210 and visit our website at rsupublictv.org for more information. Thank you for joining us on RSU Public Television.